Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. And you know what today is? Today is the 2-year anniversary celebration of Frankly Speaking. I was looking at my calendar and I noticed that, yes, 2 years ago today, we went on Big Fox with this scrappy little program starting at 1 hour. Now we are proudly at 2 hours, and the whole time proudly broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. So I'm so glad that you've joined us. And how are we going to celebrate? We're just going to have a heck of a show because we've got so much to cover. We've got a lot of local issues. There is some, we'll say, back and forth between the county and the sheriff. That's Steuben County and the sheriff. This has been has this actually been an on-running theme for the full 2 years? It may actually be. If not, the time frame is very close. But we're going to talk about all the issues of the day. Let's get right to it. I got a comment early this morning. I think some people are having problems with the time change, like myself. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. As I was watching the news this morning, it was mentioned that the price of eggs is falling. So I asked myself why and thought I have no answer. It occurred to me that Doge had and will find a lot of money. A couple weeks ago, give or take, the subject of what to do with this money. I think a great use of it would be to pay companies to lower the prices. What do you think? No, I like the thought of paying down the debt, which will then help lower the costs overall. But I like throwing out the idea. Well, a lot of ways people are excited to join the 2-year anniversary celebration. Hey, a quick update from yesterday, and thank you for the comment, by the way. SpaceX did scrub that mission to rescue the crew that has been stranded. Boy, those guys can't catch a break. First, they weren't rescued for political reasons under the Biden administration. Now, a little bit of a hydraulic issue, according to officials during the live broadcast of the event. NASA and SpaceX will get their next opportunity to send the rocket into space on Thursday, so today, at 7:25 p.m. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth shared a message of support ahead of the launch, saying, "I just want to take a brief moment to say that we are praying for you. We wish you Godspeed, and we look forward to welcoming you all home soon." So Wednesday night's launch was scrubbed due to hydraulic issues with a clamp arm on the launch tower. Officials have not mentioned when the next launch attempt will take place, though there are alternative times today and Friday, the soonest being 7:25 today. Boy, they have been up there. Suni Williams and Barry Butch Wilmore. I'm sure they're looking forward to coming home. Hegseth said, President Trump said to Elon Musk, "Get the astronauts home and do it now." And they're bringing NASA astronauts, who also happen to be retired U.S. Navy Captain Butch Whitmore and retired U.S. Navy Captain Suni Williams, home. Now, the American astronauts have been stranded on the ISS for 9 months when they were only supposed to stay a week. Boy, there's probably, I'm assuming, a movie there. Okay, so to keep with tradition, hey, thank you. Thank you for the congratulations. I appreciate that. Yes, pizza and cake all around. So we talk, and now this is not about Tiffany Henyard, the world's super mayor. But we talk on this program about the importance of knowing who you're voting for, right? And this is a very important year as it is local elections. Many of you are out taking petitions out. Perhaps you're thinking or did decide to run for office. I know I've been taking petitions out. People have been so friendly, wanting to know about the candidates. There are very important races at the local level, and it's never too late to get involved. Petition season runs until about the end of the month. So it's not too late to get involved. But this is an example of why you need to know who you're voting for. This is out of Illinois. And now, so it's not local to us, but again, the people that you may not know, you go into the voting booth and you say, I think I went to school with them or with their kid, or, one of these scenarios. And that's not enough reason to vote for somebody. Need to do the homework, need to do the research. And we made it proud from day one, a proud commitment to you on this program from day one, 2 years ago, to make sure that you will know as much as we can possibly give to you about your candidates at the local, state level, federal level, because we want you to go into the voting booth informed. Well, in Illinois, there's a lawmaker that has introduced a bill that many are suggesting will make it legal for anyone experiencing a mental health episode to attack police officers. Now, if you're just joining us, you're saying, is this in New York? Because it sounds like something Governor Hochul would propose. No, this is in Illinois. But don't be surprised if we see similar bills introduced in New York. Democratic State Representative Lisa Davis, an attorney in the law office of the Cook County Public Defender's Office, introduced a bill, if you want to know the official term, House Bill 3458, last month. Under the terms of the legislation, the bill would, quote, provide that it is a defense to aggravated battery when the individual battered is a police officer and the officer responded to an incident in which the officer interacted with a person whom a reasonable officer could believe was having a mental health episode, and the person with whom the officer interacted has a documented mental illness and acted abruptly. Now, you would read that and say, this is absurd. Well, it has two co-sponsors, Representative Marcus Evans and Kelly Cassidy. Currently, a person in Illinois can be charged with aggravated battery if they attack an individual whom the person knows to be a police officer, community policing volunteer, fireman, private security officer, correctional institution employee, or Department of Human Services employee, supervising or controlling sexually dangerous persons or sexually violent persons. The blog Second Cop City says if this passes, mental illness will be an excuse to attack and beat police officers. In fact, who wants to bet there will be thousands of people who suddenly have doctor notes that permit them to attack cops? Very good point. Davis's proposal would legalize attacks on police officers. Other first responders would be spared, such as firefighters, like her husband. Interesting how that works. The bill has been referred to the Illinois General Assembly Rules Committee, where unpopular legislation goes to die, the news report states. Just a prime example of why you need to know who you are voting for and what their ideas are. Rather radical ideas, or doing it for the betterment of their community. You still need to know who you're voting for. I thought we'd keep that tradition alive on this 2-year anniversary celebration. Okay, so the government looks as if it's going to shut down. Now, you may not know that if you've been watching the news. It's not quite as apocalyptic, this government shutdown, as in years past when they could blame it on Republicans. There is actually a piece at CNN not criticizing Democrats on this, and we'll get to it later on, but really highlighting that this is going to make them look bad, trying to protect them from themselves. So you're not seeing splashed all over the front page about the government worker who, though non-essential, an employee, will not receive their paycheck and what that will do to their family and loved ones. But Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer announced yesterday that most Democrats in the upper chamber will not support a House Republican-passed bill to fund the federal government through the end of September, all but ensuring a partial shutdown beginning on Friday, beginning tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. Schumer saying funding the government should be a bipartisan effort, but Republicans chose a partisan path, drafting their continuing resolution without any input from congressional Democrats. Because of that, Republicans do not have the votes in the Senate to invoke cloture on the House continuing resolution. Our caucus is unified on a clean CR through April 11th that will keep the government open and give Congress time to negotiate bipartisan legislation that can pass. So wanting to do another smaller continuing resolution for a month, a little under a month. With Republicans holding a 53-47 advantage in the Senate and legislation needing 60 votes to overcome a filibuster, at least 7 Democrats would need to support the spending bill, which passed the House 217 to 213, and we brought that story to you yesterday. Now, there is some talks of some Republicans that may not, in the Senate, who may not support this, so the number varies a little bit, because like Senator Rand Paul has said he is opposed to the continuing resolution, so that would mean you would need more Democrat support, would need 8 Democrats to side with Republicans. House Speaker Mike Johnson announced the lower chamber of Congress would recess until March 24th, kind of putting the ball in the Democrats' court in the Senate, saying, hey, we're recessing until the 24th. So it's either this or nothing. And Senator Thune calling the Democrats' bluff as well, and sounds as if he's still going to take a vote on the continuing resolution. So this leaves Schumer with the option of accepting the House bill and keeping the federal lights on over the objection of progressive activists, or rejecting it and putting the nation's capital on course for the 11th partial government shutdown since 1980. In a statement after the lower chamber passed the funding bill, Johnson said it was decision time for Senate Democrats. Cast a vote to keep the government open or be responsible for shutting it down. Now, again, you're not going to see the media coverage of the shutdown being as disastrous as in years past. We already see that the media is essentially covering for Democrats on this. Speaker Johnson saying, in a shameful display of coordinated political theater, Democrats are willing to run out the clock on funding the government in a failed attempt to block the America First agenda. Now it's decision time for Senate Democrats. Cast a vote to keep the government open or be responsible for shutting it down. Before Schumer's announcement, the only Senate Democrats to openly back the continuing resolution was Senator John Fetterman, while Senators John Ossoff, Angus King, Mark Kelly, and Ruben Gallego had signaled openness to supporting the bill. Liberal activists had pointed out that the current spending fight was the last chance for Democrats to extract concessions from Republicans until this fall, when the fiscal year 2026 appropriations process begins. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, said everyone needs to call their Democrat senator right now. They are starting to cave. Today is the showdown. Before the Senate convened on Wednesday, business Democrats huddled during a caucus lunch to plot the next steps forward. Chris Van Hollen said, at least for now, I don't see the votes based on my reading at the end of the meeting. I don't see the votes right now for passing the House Republican CR. So let's give you a little more information on this. On the other side of the argument, a senior Senate Democratic aide told the New York Post that some members worry a shutdown leaves Elon Musk alone in the candy store. It wouldn't be your grandfather's shutdown, the source said, following Musk's aggressive actions to reduce the federal workforce. And we've heard from some other Democrats, and we're going to talk about this most likely more in depth later in the program. This is just kind of your breaking news early this morning. One senior Senate Republican aide said every hour that passes only puts them on an island where it's obviously they have no plan. And the headlines are, will Democrats shut down the government? Well, I would say to that senior Senate Republican aide, the headlines aren't going to be that fruitful. They're not going to be like in years past when they could easily blame it on Republicans. So we will be keeping a close eye on that. We may talk about it more on this program later on. We have a lot to cover this morning at the local level, at the state level, and we're also going to get to some national level. There's a lot of interesting moves by Democrats, and specifically Tim Walz, the failed VP, ran with Harris. You may have forgot the name already. We had brought the story last week, maybe the week before, where he suggested that if people wanted him to, he would run for president. Now he seems to be making moves as if he's seriously considering it. We're going to tell you about that later on. And another name, a blast from the past, who is contemplating running for president on the Democratic ticket. But we have a lot of other issues to get to. And of course, the corrections officer strike and a story we brought to you early yesterday, I think beating most to the punch, which is that Governor Hochul decided to be vindictive and punish those that spoke out against the safety issues inside the prisons, punishing them and saying you're no longer ever allowed to work in the state workforce. And Congressman Nick Langworthy had, I thought, a very important statement on that. We're going to get to that later on as well. A lot of comments coming in. Thanks for joining us. 2-year anniversary celebration, and we're celebrating just you and I. No special guests, no frills. Well, no frills except for this. No frills, just all the news of the day. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now, 844-617-0440.
Discover a path to receiving an exceptional educational experience with all costs covered. That's our mission. Find your future at Milton Hershey School.
Welcome to Pangea Global Tea House.
Pangea Global Tea House offers comfort foods of the world with over 50 teas and a sampling of cuisine from over 10 countries. Come in and try our duck baki or eggs benedict. They are full of flavors your taste buds will thank you for.
Want to know why it's hard to stop a train? It's how we've invented products that reinvented our world. It's how we test as hard as the elements do. It's how we run.
Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning in Corning is now offering residential plumbing services. A local, veteran-owned and operated company with over 25 years experience. You can trust the experts at Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning.
Elmira, Horseheads, Hornell, Bath, Watkins Glen. Big Fox 10 p.m. News, the first primetime local news in the Twin Tiers. Catch news from your area, weather forecasts, and local events. And visit our website at WYDCTV.com anytime to stay up to date on weather, news articles, and local events. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are broadcasting live and proudly from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. A lot of comments from viewers. Let's go right to those comments. Good morning, Frank. Well, hey, Mark. Good morning to you, too. Hochul is going green and Trump is going gray. He is lifting emissions on a bunch of things. We've got a lot of updates on Governor Hochul and a lot of updates on President Trump as well. So thank you, Mark. Congratulations on 2 years. May you have many more. Thank you very much. Another comment from a different viewer. Happy anniversary. Just when you think things can't be any more outrageous, I tune in to Frankly Speaking and am enlightened. What idiot would support a bill like that in Illinois? What can't people see about wanting to do away with law enforcement, defund the police, now this, and yet all they do is stress the safety of the people they serve. What a crock of soup. Thank you for saying soup. Thank you for not getting me fired on my 2-year anniversary. I agree. But it's just like when we talk about the HALT Act, what we're dealing with the corrections officers. You have radical Democrats that are looking for ways to tie the hands of law enforcement while coddling the criminals. And if you're just joining us, that was about a bill that was proposed in Illinois where if you were having a mental health issue and you attacked the police, you were basically given a free pass. So thank you for that. Comment from a different viewer. The budget is a responsibility that Congress and Senate have. They always wait till the last minute. They sure do. They both have committees to deal with it. Neither should be paid if this is not prepared on time, and that would include their offices and amenities. If we don't do our jobs, there are consequences. Absolutely. The same should apply to them at every level of government, also including local. I agree. Thank you very much. At local level, and we are going to get into hyper local here in just a little bit, but just quickly as an update before we take another break and then going to your comments. An anti-Israel Cornell student disrupted a peace event yesterday. Foul-mouthed anti-Israel protesters disrupted an event at Cornell University. Now, Cornell was one of the universities on the list that is being investigated for anti-Semitism, and just like in Colombia, perhaps having their government funding taken away. Now, this event was where former Palestinian and Israeli officials were coming together to discuss peace in the region. The Pathways to Peace discussion, which featured Israel's former foreign minister and vice prime minister, Levini, descended into chaos when unruly activists broke out in anti-Semitic chants and hurled abuse at the politicians. I can't read the majority of the statements that were shouted. Of course, the typical chant of "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," which has been deemed anti-Semitic by the Anti-Defamation League. There's videos of this online. Just wanted to essentially show you what we're dealing with right in our backyard. Jewish students said that the Cornell's anti-Israel mob was not a surprise. Federally detained Columbia University agitator Mohammed Khalil's case is not about free speech, a Jewish student told the New York Post. After his school, Cornell, was the latest to be caught up in disruptive anti-Israel protests. Sam Friedman, a 21-year-old junior at Cornell's College of Engineering, was at the Ithaca campus, Bally Hall, on Monday night when a mob shouted down the Israeli and Palestinian speaker who had gathered for the event entitled Pathways to Peace. They said, unfortunately, it's no surprise. Friedman saying, "I'm a big free speech advocate. I think free speech is really important. And what these people did at Cornell is the opposite of free speech. They intentionally blocked people from speaking freely." And that is a typical tactic used at universities like Cornell, where they'll shout down, and I don't know about this group specifically that was speaking, but conservative speakers or the faculty who won't want the conservative speakers to attend. They'll say, well, for safety reasons, you have to provide an exorbitant amount of money for your security, so therefore it's kind of a censorship forcing them to cancel. So it comes as no surprise. Just wanted to pass that on to you right in our backyard in Cornell. And if you have a moment, and we're going to talk about New York State issues even further coming up after the next break. But there's a really interesting piece at the New York Post. If you have a moment, it's by Melanie Phillips, and it says, "Democrats, Israel betrayal. How the party flipped on its staunchest ally." And it kind of gives you a history of this and what's happening, not just on college campuses, because we've seen massive protests in the streets of Manhattan over the detainment of Mohammed Khalil. But what the piece boils down to is that it says here that the war against Israel is a war against the West, and the war against the West is a war against the Jews. So again, the piece is entitled "Democrats, Israel Betrayal, how the party flipped on its staunchest allies." All right, a lot of comments coming in, a lot of waves coming in. This is the 2-year anniversary edition of Frankly Speaking. No real celebration, but the best celebration. You and I talking about all the issues of the day. When we come back, we're going to talk about New York State issues. We are going to get into the local issue. If you haven't been following it with Steuben County and the sheriff, it's different than, it's not that different, but a little bit different than what we've been talking about when we have the sheriff on and other guests on. This is kind of reuniting this conversation. And I don't want to give too much away. We'll talk about it coming up in a little bit. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily Jardians at each day start. As time went on, it was easy to see I'm lowering my A1C.
And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardians can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too.
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine, which can be fatal. Stop Jardians and call your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, trouble breathing, or increased ketones. Jardians may cause dehydration that can suddenly worsen kidney function and make you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or weak upon standing. Genital yeast infections in men and women, urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, or a rare life-threatening bacterial infection between and around the anus and genitals can occur. Call your doctor right away if you have fever or feel weak or tired, and pain, tenderness, swelling, or redness in the genital area. Don't use if allergic to Jardians. Stop use if you have a serious allergic reaction. Call your doctor if you have rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swallowing. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet.
Jardians is really swell, the little pill with a big story to tell.
Every Judge Mathis presides.
Don't you ever form your mouth to talk to me like that.
Is another day when someone gets what they deserve.
What's wrong with you?
Mathis Court with Judge Mathis.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC, or visit our website at WYDC. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam. Brought to you by Boss Security. Thank you to Boss Security. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on this 2-year anniversary celebration. Let's go to some viewer comments before we talk about so many issues this morning. All right, here we go. Good morning, Frank, and congratulations. Well, thank you. Comment from a different viewer. The big picture is the Democrats want to eliminate our guns and eliminate the police. I don't see the point. It's a scary scenario, but you can't really argue. Comment from a different viewer. Congratulations on 2 years of a great show. Well, hey, thank you. Hopefully many more years. Thank you for giving us a break from the mainstream river's rough waters. Well, thank you so much. Very kind of you. Comment from a different viewer. Hochul has got to go. I just heard about the executive order that she signed to keep officers from working in New York State. I think that is the most outrageous, disgusting thing yet. That can't stand. Well, thank you, viewer, because that's a perfect segue into what we were just about to talk about. Any worker who continued to participate in the Wildcat strike will no longer be able to be hired at any state service job, according to Governor Kathy Hochul, who announced Thursday that she signed an executive order putting the ban into effect. So not signing an emergency executive order to end the HALT Act, to keep the corrections officers safe in prison and to keep the inmates safe in prison, mind you. But finding the time to sign an executive order banning any corrections officer who participated in the strike after this, self-declared agreement occurred, were fired, took away their and their families' health insurance, and now trying to keep them from employment, showing a level of vindictiveness that normally she doesn't show. It's very interesting that when it comes to law enforcement, she's very, very tough against them. She's very tough and willing to fight when it comes to taxing the people of New York with congestion pricing in the city, where she's willing to take the fight head on with Trump. Her value system seems a little out of whack to me when it comes to what she chooses to fight for. Governor Hochul saying, my top priority is the safety and well-being of all New Yorkers. It's always good to start your speech with a joke. And I have been working around the clock to end the illegal work stoppage and restore safety in our corrections system. We have taken unprecedented steps to protect public safety, and I'm grateful to the National Guard and DOCS personnel who stayed on the job, going above and beyond to protect their fellow New Yorkers. Today, we can finally say this work stoppage is over and move forward towards making our prisons safer for all, supporting our correctional staff and recruiting the correction officers of the future. Now, I'm not going to go, this is, if you're a regular viewer, frankly speaking, this is relatively old news. We brought this to you yesterday morning. You know, we brought it to you all week and weeks, about 20-some days of the strike. But 2,000 corrections officers were fired. She has now made it a point to now insult them, not only by taking away their health insurance for them and their family, but also saying, and remember, Governor Hochul has had roundtables trying to hire the federal employees that were fired by DOGE, hire them into the state workforce, because she made it crystal clear. We need more state workers. But corrections officers who put their lives on the line daily, who were forced to work 24-hour shifts in unsafe conditions, when they had the audacity to speak out about the safety issues that any other work environment would be fined, cited for, shut down, she said that those people should be punished and never work in the state workforce again, and signing an executive order to that effect. And I've got to say, kudos to Congressman Nick Langworthy. Congressman Langworthy released this statement yesterday. Let's see. Let's throw it up there. There we go. Governor Hochul's latest assault on our hardworking corrections officers amounts to nothing more than callous and petty retribution. These brave men and women engaged in a strike as a last resort because they were pushed to a breaking point, and their concerns have fallen on deaf ears. Instead of negotiating in good faith to bring needed changes to their third world working conditions and safety, she ripped their children of their health insurance, fired them, and is now trying to prevent them from gaining future employment. This was a gutless, vindictive move that shows how much hate and contempt she has for our uniformed heroes. A federal investigation into this blatant, outrageous overreach can't come soon enough. So thank you to Congressman Nick Langworthy for that statement. It's exactly what needed to be said, and more should be saying. Something that Phil Palmisano had a great statement on it yesterday, very much in line with what Congressman Langworthy is saying here. But again, I love the line, instead of negotiating in good faith to bring needed changes to their third world working conditions and safety, she ripped their children of their health insurance, fired them, and is now trying to prevent them from gaining future employment. Again, I'm sorry, I'm reading it again. I thought it was a great statement. This was a gutless, vindictive move that shows how much hate and contempt she has for our uniformed heroes. A federal investigation into this blatant, outrageous overreach cannot come soon enough. So there is your corrections officers updates. If you have any comments you would like to make on that, I would love to hear from you. We also have, it's amazing how much we have on local issues and statewide issues this morning. We could probably spend the whole show on that, but we're not. We're going to tie it all in with the federal government as well. I do want to talk about Tom Homan. Did you see Tom Homan was in Albany? Yeah, we'll talk about that when we come back, and we'll give you an update on what's happening in Steuben County as quickly as I can. It's quite a kind of a lengthy story here, but we'll do our best to cover that coming up in a little bit. But let's take a break. I'm running late this morning, but we're having a blast on the 2-year anniversary celebration of Frankly Speaking. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Hustling plus overbooked plus bustling plus cleaning overlooked. It all adds up. With Mary Maid's professional cleaning services, you'll have one less thing to worry about. Mary Maid's, relax, it's done. Plus too busy, plus bustling, plus in a tizzy. It all adds up. With Mary Maid's professional cleaning services, you'll have one less thing to worry about. Mary Maid's, relax, it's done.
Beat the dark days of winter and have a vacation from taxation with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. What better way to start or end every day than with hot water therapy and your very own Hesselson's Hot Tub? With every spot purchase, Hesselson's guarantees great customer satisfaction and the best service team in the area. Plus, with Hesselson's Vacation from Taxation sales event, free steps, free cover lifter, free music, and 0% interest-free financing. Ask about Hesselson's chemical auto ship program and save even more. Stop in today and see why after 70 years it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
And Bath Planet has one question for you. Do you feel lucky? Well, do ya? Bath Planet is excited to announce the Dream Bath Giveaway 5. In the past 2 years, we have given away 4 brand new Dream Baths, and now it's your turn. The winner will be able to design their own bath or shower, complete with hundreds of color and pattern options, multiple shelf styles, and matching safety features. It's the Dream Bath Giveaway 5. Enter now by scanning the QR code or stopping.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Viewer comments. Congratulations, Frank, on your 2nd anniversary. Thank you. I enjoy Frankly Speaking, and I'm a fan of the show. Have a great day. Well, thank you. You have a great day as well. I appreciate that. Another comment to the statement where the Democrats gave up on Israel. Trump has ordered an audit on that war. So there must have been some hanky-panky going on there. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see those numbers. Next up. So now the 2,000 guards that were fired probably have to move. Great move, Hochul. Now you have more people leaving New York today. Ridiculous. I liked the comment from a viewer yesterday, and I thought it was a great idea. I hope someone put it in Tom Homan's ears when he was in Albany yesterday, because obviously a lot of people watch Frankly Speaking and pass word along. The viewer had suggested that ICE hire the 2,000 correctional officers that were fired and had their insurance ripped away from them by Governor Hochul, and now are being told they can no longer work in the state workforce due to an executive order the governor signed. Wouldn't it be great if ICE hired them all? Because yesterday, Homan said that they were going to flood New York City with ICE agents because of the governor's proposals and the sanctuary city status. We're going to talk about him in just a little bit, about Tom Homan's visit. I do want to go to, and I don't know how to segue to it, but we're going to talk about what's happening in Steuben County. But first, a couple other comments. Frank, congratulations. You're doing a great job. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Another comment. New York State Assembly and Senate should, I'm going to say, get some guts and impeach this incompetent Hochul occupying the governor's office. Some other names there, but I'll just say you get the gist, and I understand your sentiment, and we've heard it from many. Okay, bear with me, and I'm not saying that this isn't wonky necessarily, but it's quite lengthy, and there is a back and forth happening at Steuben County right now. We've talked about this for almost as long as this program has been on the air, as the Steuben County legislature and their and how do I want to say it? And their attitude towards Steuben County Sheriff Jim Allard, who of course was elected, been on this program numerous times, talking about taking away his insurance in the past. We've had that whole thing, and there was the legal battle with the county that Allard was found was found in favor for Sheriff Allard. Well, this is different from that story, but the sheriff was asked to speak to the legislature about overtime. And he did. He posted his speech on Facebook, and then the county decided the county's remained very silent as of late, especially when it comes to their dealings with Sheriff Allard, though we brought to you the story about how the appeal of that legal battle was voted on by the legislature, and they voted not to appeal. But then we heard that there is still, because of some legal issue, that there still could be an appeal. It got very much in the weeds. Well, this is I guess you could say, new battle. So I'm going to read it to you. It is lengthy. We're going to get through that. I'm going to leave it without any kind of commentary. I'm going to let you decide. But this is from the Steuben County Sheriff's Office. This morning at the Steuben County Finance Committee, I was asked to present an overtime analysis regarding the Patrol Division overtime for 2023 and 2024 and publicly defend it. The following is the factual presentation I attempted to present. Again, this is Sheriff Allard. I've been requested by Mr. Van Etten and Manager Wheeler to create a presentation concerning the overtime costs associated with the Patrol Division of the Sheriff's Office. To my knowledge, no other department or agency has been singled out for a review of this nature. To my knowledge, no other elected official or department head has been questioned publicly regarding payroll of any kind. I received this request late Wednesday for presentation today, and the presentation was 2 days ago. In 2019, I was called to the manager's office to meet with Legislator Van Etten and Legislator Fitzpatrick about the patrol overtime exceeding the budgeted amount. I produced a tracking of every hour of overtime and asked where, in their opinion, cuts could be made. They offered no solutions. I produced the historical annual expenditures for overtime, which were typically twice what was budgeted, with no annual budget adjustment to reflect the actual cost. At that time, both legislators agreed that we need to budget more responsibly and accurately. This was done respectfully, in private, not as a public spectacle. From the county finance program, in 2022, the Patrol Division was budgeted $200,000 in overtime. 2021 actual spending was $305,988. The actual 2022 expenditures was $320,486. And he goes through, and this is why I just can't read all of it, because the numbers I know don't play well without a presentation behind it, but showing that it was never properly budgeted by the legislature. And then he talks about other large agencies that were given the proper budgeting or given increases. And again, stating no public statements, no request for presentation, no public spectacle from these other large agencies. Then he gave background information. And he said in 2021, Mr. Van Etten asserted that the Sheriff's Foundation was illegal and in violation of the Steuben County's ethics law. This was an untrue statement. Since that time, the foundation has saved Steuben County taxpayers over $40,000 in equipment and training for the Sheriff's Office. In 2021, Mr. Van Etten asserted that I received kickback from vendors. That was an untrue statement. In 2021, Mr. Van Etten stated that I did not collaborate with the county regarding employee disciplines. That was an untrue statement. In 2021, Mr. Van Etten stated that the legislature could take away my indemnification and reduce my budget. Since 2021, there has been no increase in the Patrol Division overtime budget, regardless of salary increase, staffing, or increased responsibilities. In 2023, Mr. Van Etten, as chair of the legislature, introduced legislation to attempt to take away my indemnification. This action was nullified in the New York State Supreme Court in 2024. That's a topic that we've discussed continually. Wasted time and wasted money. Money that could have been used to build roads, increase public safety, or hire needed employees. In 2021, Mr. Van Etten asserted that there was something amiss with the way in which jail food was procured. $16,000 was paid to Benito to complete an audit of the jail food, the result of which revealed that the increase was based on food prices and an unstable delivery chain during COVID. Wasted time and money. In 2023, Mr. Van Etten asserted that Prime Care Incorporated needed to be audited based on news reports from Binghamton. Again, you authorized that expenditure of over $10,000 to the Bandito Group to audit Prime Care, the result of which revealed that we had received over $11,000 in services that we had not paid for. To date, I have not seen a final report from that audit. Wasted time and money. And then he goes through and gives the exact numbers of overtime. And again, I can't read all this for time constraints. You can find this on the Steuben County Sheriff's Facebook page. But in conclusion, Overtime in the patrol division has been consistent for the past 5 years. The budget for overtime has consistently not reflected the historical actual pay. I have no means to correct the budgeted amount for any overtime, wages, or salary. Only the manager and the legislature have that ability. I pointed this discrepancy out in the past. I've explained this discrepancy to Mr. Van Etten in the past. Continued waste of time and money. Even though the overtime has been consistent for the past 5 years, the budget has never realistically reflected the historical expenditures. Mr. Van Etten expressed concern over certain deputies voluntarily working the majority of overtime. Thankfully, we have dedicated and committed deputies who would rather go without sleep than leave our county unprotected or a deputy on patrol alone. The 2 deputies who have worked the most overtime, Deputy Tom Nybeck and Deputy Matt Butler, should be commended, not condemned, for caring enough about their community to cover shifts when needed. The alternative is to order in deputies for mandatory overtime, similar to what the New York State corrections officers are dealing with. So then he gives the amount of land and the amount of work that they are dealing with. But he proposes that they hire a company to perform a staffing analysis for the patrol force and use that information to guide our next steps. Monroe County used Matrix Consulting at a cost of $84,500. That's what Sheriff Allard posted. Now, the county decided to respond to that statement. And in that, because we are running a little bit late, but in response to that presentation, this is what they had to say. Well, no, we got to take a break. We'll tell you what they had to say, and then we're going to move on because we have a lot about New York State issues on top of this, and we're going to talk about Doge and so much more. So stay with us. A couple interesting Democrat updates about 2028. But stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking.
Want to know why it's hard to stop a train? It's how we've invented products that reinvented our world. It's how we test as hard as the elements do. It's how we run.
Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning in Corning is now offering residential plumbing services. A local, veteran-owned and operated company with over 25 years experience. You can trust the experts at Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning.
If there's one thing we like, it's choices. And your Ford dealer is the place to start. With a full lineup of vehicles and available powertrains. Get your ideal combination of power and capability with gas, hybrid, or all electric. But more important than the power you choose is what you choose to do with it.
Right now, returning lessees can get a Ford Escape for $199 a month for 24 months, only at your local Ford stores.
Elmira, Horseheads, Hornell, Bath, Watkins Glen, Big Fox 10 p.m. News, the first primetime local news in the Twin Tiers. Catch news from your area, weather forecasts, and local events. And visit our website at WYDCTV.com anytime to stay up to date on weather, news articles, and local events. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go through some viewer comments, and we'll get back to that discussion on Steuben County. Congratulations on another year of helping to bring clarity to the political world and allowing the general public to have a voice. Well, thank you, Ken. Ken continues, and thank you, Ken, for being such an important part of this program, doing all of the dirty work that we don't want to do, watching the DNC, watching the Sunday shows. We appreciate it. But Ken continues, I'm certainly not a political expert, but I firmly believe that one of the problems the Republican Party has is they personalize the individual Democrats for the ill-conceived policies and decisions that are made. While this may work to eliminate an individual from winning a particular race, it doesn't paint the party with these bad policies or decisions. Hochul is merely a mouthpiece for the Democrats. She only puts forward what the Democrat leadership wants her to. Everyone blaming her for these bad choices is exactly what the Democrats want. It puts the focus on Hochul and not the party in general. You raise a good point, Ken. Of course, the same thing was done, and it's continued to be done with former President Joe Biden. So good point. Thank you, Ken. Comment from a different viewer. Hey, Frank, it'll be cool to celebrate your 2-year anniversary at Wienerville. What is that in reference to? Thank you for that opportunity, too. That is The Corning Moose Lodge holding the second annual Wienerville Party this Saturday, and it goes to benefit the Salvation Army of Corning. There's going to be live music, great food, as you see on the screen. All-you-can-eat hot dogs, baked potato bar, served with various toppings from 4 to 7, live music from 5 to 8, just $15 per person. Again, it goes to benefit the Salvation Army of Corning, and that's right at 96 Victory Highway in Painted Post. I will be there, and I will be celebrating with you the 2-year anniversary of Frankly Speaking, but more so, we're going to be celebrating the great folks at the Moose and at the Salvation Army of Corning. So thank you for that opportunity, and we'll be promoting it heavy today and tomorrow. We want everybody to come out and say hi at Wienerville. Okay, comment from a different viewer, Frank. First, congratulations on your anniversary. Well, thank you. As much discussion about the lawsuit between the county and Sheriff Allard, though I have not looked it up on the net, I have no idea what the lawsuit encompasses. If you would you please briefly explain? I guess the quickest way to explain is the legislature tried to, this is really paraphrasing it, but tried to take away Sheriff Jim Allard, his indemnification and his insurance. Basically, just to make this really, really quick, basically he would have to pay to continue to be sheriff. Now, keep in mind, of course, the sheriff is voted on by the people of Steuben County. So anyway, there was legal action taken, and Sheriff Allard won that case, and it was quite a scathing rebuke from the New York State Supreme Court to the legislature. Now, currently, there's discussions that there may be an appeal, not because, again, now I'm getting in the weeds too much, but the legislature voted not to appeal it. But it was a very slim. I think the vote not to appeal was only by 1 vote. But now there's some discussion that maybe they still could appeal from certain decisions. But anyway, I do because, oh man, I'm running late. There is a statement released in response to that presentation that I just read to you from the sheriff's office. Well, the county said, and just to boil it down, just like in fairness, I boiled down the sheriffs because we just don't have time for all of it. But the county is suggesting that they have supported the sheriff's efforts to enhance public safety. As displayed in a table that they presented, since 2017, Steuben County has increased the budgeted expenses of the road patrols by 92% and the jail by 70%. This represents $7 million more invested in public safety in 2025 compared to Sheriff Allard's first year in office. These figures clearly demonstrate that legislature and administration's support of public safety, allocating significantly more tax dollars to these efforts, while other county departments have either remained flat or decreased in size. The sheriff's claim of an anti-law enforcement bias is not supported by the facts. It is important to highlight that during this same period, Legislator Van Etten served either as chair of the Finance Committee or as chair of the legislature and consistently voted in favor of this historic growth. This demonstrates clear support for law enforcement and its advancements rather than any bias against it. Sheriff Allard has done tremendous work strengthening public safety in Steuben County, and the legislature has supported and praised him for these efforts. I just can't go through all of it, folks, and it wouldn't be fair to rush through it. So what we're going to do, what they say is the facts presented underscore the Steuben County Legislature's commitment to supporting law enforcement while also upholding its responsibility to ensure that all department heads, including elected officials, manage their operations in accordance with policy and law. This partnership is crucial and must be free from unnecessary conflict. So again, I'm sure many of you are saying that they are vowing their support for the sheriff's office, but then we had the issue of trying to take away the sheriff's indemnification and insurance. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth on that. The reason why I basically boiled that down as quickly as I possibly could is we're going to have a lot more information on this. We'll get guests on this. It is a very big local election year, and this in Steuben County is going to play a huge role in the legislative members who are running for re-election. We will be talking with the sheriff at some point, and I know I rushed it, and I'm sorry I couldn't give it its due time, but just giving you another update on this kind of war of words and this back and forth. So that's the best I could do quickly. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Ever feel a spectator in your own life with chronic migraine? 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more. Botox prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. In a survey, 91% of users wish they'd started sooner. So why wait? Talk to your doctor.
Botox effects may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as trouble swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Those with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions like rash, breathing problems, dizziness, neck and injection site pain, and headache. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions like ALS, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medicines like botulinum toxins, which may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Chronic migraine may still keep you from being there. Ask your doctor about Botox today. Learn how AbbVie can help you save.
Thank you to Boss Security for that beautiful view of historic Marcus Street. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are broadcasting from, of course, the Hesselson studio. Some more comments from viewers. Okay, maybe Hochul is just a mouthpiece for the Democrats, but we don't need or want a yes woman as governor. Yes, and Ken wasn't saying it like that. It was just, I believe, painting a larger picture of that it's not just Hochul. It's the far left in Albany. It's the far left at the national level. She's a mouthpiece, but you're exactly right. We don't need someone in there that just says yes or caves to that far left faction of her party. So thank you for that. Comment from a different viewer. What Hochul has done to the guards is horrid, and I hope she can sleep at night. Thank you, Mark. It is. It's despicable. That's why. And I sorry I'm not giving credit on this, but whoever had said it's too bad ICE doesn't hire those corrections officers. I thought that was a brilliant suggestion. Comment from a different viewer. Thanks for clarifying that. Yes, I don't know if I did a great job clarifying what's happening at the county level. We could generally spend a week discussing it and diving in depth. But again, if you want to find out more, you can go to the Steuben County website, their Facebook, and find out their response to the sheriff. And you can go to the sheriff's Facebook page and you can see his full presentation that he made in front of the legislature. Okay. This hour of Frankly Speaking is through. You are joining us for the 2-year anniversary celebration, and we can't thank you enough for being a part of it. Stay with us. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2, mere moments away.
From laminate and vinyl to tile and wood, Floor & Decor has more options for pros, homeowners, and anyone looking for the right look at the right price. Your next beautiful space is at Floor & Decor.
Beat the dark days of winter and have a vacation from taxation with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. What better way to start or end every day than with hot water therapy in your very own Hesselson's Hot Tub? With every spa purchase, Hesselson's guarantees great customer satisfaction and the best service team in the area. Plus, with Hesselson's Vacation from Taxation sales event, free steps, free cover lifter, free music, and 0% interest-free financing. Ask about Hesselson's chemical auto ship program and save even more. Stop in today and see why after 70 years it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
It's hard to explain what this feels like. Moving piles of earth, towing up to 4,000 pounds, cutting millions of blades of grass. We could keep trying to put it into words, but nothing compares to experiencing it for yourself. You just have to get in the seat.
Right now, get 0% financing for 60 months and save up to $1,000 on select John Deere compact tractors from Lindsay Equipment.
Every Jebediah K. Williams presides is another day when right prevails over wrong.
I can tell what happened to you.
Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. Think about it. 2 years ago today, we started the program. We were just an hour. How we ever could accomplish as much as we did in 1 hour. But 2 hours, I would argue, may not be enough anymore, especially in the age of Trump. But I appreciate you joining us again on the 2-year anniversary celebration of Frankly Speaking. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. I can't speak for everyone, but I'm having a blast this morning celebrating. Border czar Tom Homan. Oh, one other thing quickly. I know it's a little complicated what is happening at the county level. If you aren't a Facebook user, because I pointed you to the Facebook for the sheriff and for Steuben County, and you want me to send you that information, just drop me a line and then I can email it to you. Just give me your email. And I can send you the 2 releases if that would make it a little easier, because it's difficult to, there's just so much information to digest. Okay. Border czar Tom Homan says ICE agents will flood New York if Hochul doesn't cooperate on the federal immigration crackdown. Homan standing alongside, let me do this. This is from the New York Post, by the way. It says here, there we go. The Homan was standing alongside Albany Republicans in the state capitol. He sure was. Look at that next to him. Senator Tom O'Mara in the background. I don't know if I can. I don't think my mouse will show you. Yep, it doesn't show up. But there's Senator Tom O'Mara right behind border czar Tom Homan. He went after Hochul, saying sanctuary cities are going to get exactly what they don't want. More agents in the community. We'll double the man force if we have to. Rather than one officer arresting a bad guy, now I have to send a whole team. New York State, you've got to change your sanctuary status, and if you don't, get out of the way. We're going to do our job. He spent roughly 30 minutes railing against Hochul and her immigrant-friendly policies in New York and offered a full-throated defense of Mayor Adams. The wide-ranging, often caustic comments came during a rally by Republican lawmakers pushing to repeal the state's green light law, which allows undocumented immigrants to get driver's licenses, as well as to pass New York's Lake and Riley Act, which aims to undercut sanctuary city policies. Homan revealed that he will meet with Adams again this week, and he said, we're working on some things. I can't share it all with you right now. And I don't want to talk too much about Adams here. More about, and of course, Hochul would not meet with Homan. New York lawmakers, Democrats, of course, were screaming at him in the typical, much like we saw during President Trump's speech to the joint sessions. New York State Assemblyman Zoran Mamdani shouted at Tom Homan in response to the arrests and detention of Mohammed Khalil, a pro-Palestinian activist. We're going to get back to the immigration issue in just a second. But Mamdani, who was running for mayor in New York City, wrote that he confronted Homan while he was in Albany. In a video, he was seen shouting at Homan, asking him, how many more New Yorkers will you detain? How many more New Yorkers without charge? Do you believe in the First Amendment? Do you believe in the First Amendment, Tom Homan? So more or less trying to make a name for himself as he runs for mayor. But there was others that shouted at him, were screaming at him. And what Homan said was, hate on me because I eat it up. This guy's a superstar, isn't he? And just like his statement that, hey, you keep doing what you're doing and you're going to get exactly what you don't want, more agents in your communities. I work for a president who wants to save lives and make this country safe again. You want to hate on me? Hate on me because I eat it up. Now, he insisted as well that Cuomo doesn't belong in New York politics if he still supports the sanctuary cities law. If he supports sanctuary laws, no, I don't think so. Meaning in reference to Cuomo's bid for mayor. The border chief's gruff appraisal came as he joined Republicans' push to repeal the green light laws that allows undocumented immigrants to get driver's licenses. The GOP lawmakers rallied with Homan in the Albany State Capitol building to highlight their bids to slam the brakes on the license law. As a matter of fact, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano released a statement on this, saying the simple fact, and this is again Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, the simple fact of the matter is this tragedy was completely avoidable. If local law enforcement was allowed to cooperate with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, then this, and this is in a reference, to Laken Riley's murder, then this vicious killer would not have had a chance to carry out this horrific murder. Laken would still be alive today, and unfortunately, she is not the only one. Palmisano and his colleagues are also calling for the repeal of the green light law, which prevents ICE from accessing the Department of Motor Vehicles database for information on those in the country illegally. Quote, while Governor Hochul and Albany Democrats will tell you the green light law is simply about making sure everyone driving on the streets has a license, that is simply not true. If that were true, they would have also included a provision that bars ICE from obtaining data from the DMV. This is just another misplaced policy pushed by New York Democrats to protect illegal immigrants at the expense of public safety, and it must be repealed. We look forward to talking with the Assemblyman soon and find out how that meeting went with Tom Homan, and we appreciate him releasing that statement. Wow, so many comments coming in. We'll get to those comments when we come back from our next break. But first, okay, we've had a lot of local issues talking about the Steuben County and the sheriff. We've had New York State issues in general. Let's go to a completely different local issue, and this is from our friends in Hornell, and specifically our good friend of the program, Mayor John Buckley. If you're not aware, Hornell holds a very large St. Patrick's Day celebration each year. The parade is this Saturday, and the lineup begins at 10:30 with the parade kicking off at 11 a.m. Well, yesterday, the mayor announced the Grand Marshal, and he said in his statement, each year, the honor of Grand Marshal is bestowed upon someone who not only embodies the spirit of our community, but also exemplifies the energy and joy that our St. Patrick's Day celebration represents. This year, I've chosen an individual whose vibrant personality and dedication to our community has made a lasting impact on the lives of many. This individual's upbeat, positive, and energetic personality perfectly reflects the joy and enthusiasm that this special day brings to our city. As a retired school teacher, she has shaped and nurtured generations of young minds, instilling in them a love of learning, kindness, and community. Beyond her work in the classroom, this year's Grand Marshal continues to be an active and dedicated leader in the Hornell community. She's an integral member of the Hornell Community Theater, where her passion for the arts has contributed to countless productions that have entertained and brought joy to our community. Her tireless efforts and dedication to making Hornell a better place to live, work, and play have made her a beloved figure. She currently serves as the exalted ruler of the Hornell Elks, where her leadership and service help further the Elks' mission of charity, community involvement, and fellowship. Her commitment to improving the lives of those around her, is truly remarkable. I enthusiastically announce our Grand Marshal for the 2025 St. Patrick's Day Parade is Penny Smith. Congratulations to Penny Smith. If you look from left to right in the photo, it's LAOH President Maggie Cregan, Mayor John Buckley, of course, friend of Frankly Speaking, Grand Marshal Penny Smith right there, and AOH President Mark Kelly. So there you go, and I hope that everyone can make it out to the Hornell St. Patrick's Day Parade. Again, it's this Saturday. Lineup will be on Genesee Street near Community Bank. The parade will march down Seneca Street to Main Street, ending at the main place. Lineup begins at 10:30 with the parade kicking off at 11 a.m. And that is a blast. There's you can find out more at the Hornell Facebook page, but they have quite a celebration in Hornell. So thank you to our friends watching in Hornell. Okay. Now let's take a break. I've got a couple of updates on Democrats here, and then we're going to jump into Trump. Where else can you get such local, statewide, and federal issues on TV? I don't know. I don't know how we can pack it all in 2 hours or how we ever did it in one. If you are just joining us, this is the 2-year anniversary celebration. I can think of no better way to celebrate than just you and I spending the 2 hours together. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
What if there was a place where every kid got a chance to be great? There is a place. Milton Hershey School. We're more than a school. We change lives. And you can be next.
The bold, smooth taste of Bradley Street Coffee. The aroma alone can transport you to your happy place. So why not share the feeling? Pick up a multi-pack and share the bold, distinctive taste of Bradley Street Coffee. Exclusively at Quick Fill.
There are days I feel stuck in my head. Even on an antidepressant, lingering depression symptoms can make it hard to break through. I wanted more from my antidepressant. I asked about Vraylar. Adding Vraylar to an antidepressant significantly reduces overall depression symptoms better than an antidepressant alone.
Vraylar isn't approved for elderly patients with dementia-related psychosis due to increased risk of death or stroke. Report changes in behavior or suicidal thoughts to your doctor. Antidepressants can increase these in children and young adults. Report fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death. Weight gain and high cholesterol may occur. Difficulty moving, tremors, slow or uncontrolled body movements, restlessness and feeling like you need to move, nausea, constipation, insomnia, dizziness, increased appetite, and fatigue are common. Side effects may not appear for weeks.
Vraylar, breaking through to relief.
The Frankly Speaking roof cam. What a beautiful view on this 2-year anniversary celebration of Frankly Speaking. I'm going to mention that as much as I can. Don't worry. Thank you to Boss Security for bringing us the beautiful view. You can contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson's studio here on Market Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments. Happy 2nd anniversary. Keep up the great work. Hoping for many more years to come. Well, thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Steuben County voters really need to pay attention to the sheriff's case and vote accordingly. Yes, it is a very big local election year, and there are some Steuben County legislators up for re-election. So thank you for that comment. We'll be talking a lot more about it as we near primaries or near the general election. Comment from a different viewer. So you have covered Hochul for 2 years. Let's hope you don't have to for 2 more years. She needs to leave Albany. Thank you very much. According to another viewer, according to one of the legislators, this is about Steuben County, the appeal named legislator Scott Van Etten alone. So the appeal can go forward without the legislation, the legislators' approval. Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't make that clear. There was so much to cover, and I apologize. Yes, to boil it down, with that legal action taken against Sheriff Allard, and Sheriff Allard was found completely in the right. Well, there was discussion of whether or not there should be appeal. So they took a vote on the appeal, and this is how it played out. The county lawmakers who voted to appeal the ruling, so they wanted to appeal it, they wanted to go and spend more money to appeal the decision, were Scott Van Etten, Brian Shue, Bob Nichols, James Kuhl, Wendy Lozo, Gary Swackhammer, Fred Potter, and Mike Hanna. The county lawmakers who voted against the appeal are Kelly Fitzpatrick, Paul Van Solis, I never pronounce, I apologize to Paul. I never pronounce his last name properly. Hilda Lando, Carol Ferratella, Jeff Horton, Shannon Logsdon, William Thew, Joe Tobia, and Nick Pelham. Those are who voted against appealing it. So they weren't going to appeal it. But then it turns out, according to County Manager Kelly Fitzpatrick, and we get this quote from our friends, another reference to Hornell, from our friends at WLEA, it's because the county's outside counsel says that because former county legislative chair Scott Van Etten was named in the lawsuit, and because Van Etten wants to pursue the appeal, the outside counsel says the county legislature has an obligation to defend Van Etten legally since Van Etten is named in the sheriff's litigation. So yes, I'm sorry I didn't do a good job of describing that. It does get a little in the weeds because it is a complicated story, for lack of a better word. Okay, comment from a different viewer. Congratulations on your 2-year anniversary. Well, thank you. Nice to have a well-spoken local TV personality. Keep up the good work. I'm a fan. Well, thank you. I'm a fan of you writing in. I appreciate it. Comment from Ken. Ken writes, I will make a prediction that 1 or 2 Republicans and all the Democrats will oppose the continuing resolution. The legacy media will blame the Republicans for putting forth the resolution, saying that it is not governing, it is just kicking the can down the road. They will also note that the Republicans are responsible for shutting down the country by forcing a bipartisan coalition of dedicated lawmakers into voting it down because it was so bad for America. Ken, I don't think you're wrong. I wish I could say that I think you were. They are going to do everything they can to try to twist this. They're struggling right now, but to blame this on Republicans. Right now, they're not really even talking about it as much as normally in this scenario, because normally it's apocalyptic, it's the end of the world, because it's always quote-unquote Republicans' fault. So in this case, you raise a great point. They're going to try to twist it. I don't know if they'll be able to, but the media is not going to let this be put squarely at the feet of Democrats, even though obviously it should be. We're going to talk about that in a moment. I do want to give you a couple of Democrat updates. I did have, darn it, I had a quote that I wanted to get to because someone wrote in about, well, here's another comment. Yesterday, President Trump gave a really upbeat message to the Irish. He did. He did a great job with that. Did you see, I must not have ended up printing it out. Did you see what one reporter asked I think it was, oh, there it is. Phew, finally. One day, here, you may have heard the news, and we didn't bring it up on the program, but it was announced that Rosie O'Donnell moved to Ireland after Trump won his election. Well, a reporter, and it doesn't say who they were reporting from, yelled to the Irish political leader, Ireland is known for very happy, fun-loving people. Why in the world would you let Rosie O'Donnell move to Ireland? And that made President Trump laugh, and he said, I like that question. So he asked the political leader, Michael Martin, did you know you have Rosie O'Donnell? Did you know who she is? Martin turned to Trump and then reporters and laughed. Well, Trump said, you're better off not knowing. Anyway, I'm not sure if that's what the upbeat message you were talking about, viewer, but I thought that was funny. Hey, a couple quick updates on Democrats. We brought to you the story last week, perhaps a week before, because the news cycle starts to blend together, that Tim Walz was on a podcast. If you don't remember the name Tim Walz, he was he was Kamala Harris's running mate. We can go back and talk about how disastrous he was for the campaign, but there's no need, because that whole campaign was disastrous. But he said that if called to run for president in 2028, he would do that. He would do anything for his country. And so, yes, he would run. Now, again, say what you want about how he ran his campaign. He must still think he has it, even though the awkwardness and just that debate performance alone with J.D. Vance. But anyway, he is now launching a national tour, going to town halls in Republican House districts. He is going to tour House districts represented by Republicans who have stopped holding in-person town halls. Now, this is another topic I could spend a whole show on. What these activist groups, the same kind of activist groups that are attacking Tesla dealers and throwing Molotov cocktails and spray painting and all that, they now, after years of not demanding town halls, now are demanding town halls from their elected representatives. And you say, okay, that's fair to ask. The problem is they're not doing it in good faith. They're not doing it to say, let's have the conversation. We want to know more about Elon Musk. We want to know more about Doge. We want to know your position on X, Y, or Z. It's not that, and the videos prove it. It's about shouting down your congressperson. It's about getting that viral moment that you can then post online, have all your like-minded friends say that you're doing heroes work. Perhaps the media will run with the coverage, and the coverage will always be in a red district, constituents upset, suggesting that everyone's turning on Trump, even Trump supporters. It's disingenuous. It's lying, essentially, what the media is doing to you. But that is why there are so many activist groups that are calling out now for these town hall meetings. So to kind of make hay while the sun shines, so to speak, Tim Walz is going to go to certain areas where the congressperson will not hold in-person town hall meetings to hold a town hall meeting. He's going to start Friday in Iowa. Interesting choice. I wonder why Iowa. In the district represented by Representative Zach Nunn, then head across the border to Nebraska for the district represented by Representative Don Bacon, both of whom won tight races for re-election last year. Walz's team is already planning stops in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Ohio for the coming weeks, and more to be added. Imagine, the reason I bring this up is not because whatever you think about these town halls. I don't think right now, because they're not done in good faith, I don't think Republicans should be having these town hall meetings. Not because they shouldn't hear from their constituents. They can hear from them at any time. Make the phone calls. There's other avenues. But in this case, it's being done for purely political reasons, and that is to shout down the congressperson. And that is not healthy for anyone. At a time when Molotov cocktails are being hurled at Tesla dealers, I don't know for safety issues if it's the best decision for the representatives. But put that aside, you can disagree with me, and feel free to disagree with me. You can yell at me. But the reason I bring up the story is I find it fascinating that Tim Walz and how disastrous that campaign was and how bad he did in that job still has delusions of grandeur, it seems, that he is eyeing 2028. He also had a comment on MSNBC yesterday, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, saying that axing federal Department of Education, we talked about that yesterday, will lead to segregation. And Democrats lack a plan to fix the Department of Education. What I worry about is the generational change that this would make. Look, Ruby Bridges needed to be escorted into those schools, and the folks who went into Little Rock because we didn't have an education department that ensured her civil rights were respected. That's gone now. And my son, those of your viewers who are out there now who have individual education plans that let them thrive and be the best people, what do they want us to do? Warehouse these kids? Not give them the skills? And this is going to impact local schools directly. Are there improvements that need to be done? Yes. And I think we're guilty of sometimes of not acting. Could the Department of Education be more efficient? Absolutely. Are there things we could do there to get rid of it? Makes no sense. I think, Chris, if you do go ask the average American, what does the Department of Education do? They might not have a clear vision of it. So when Trump says it's a bunch of bureaucrats interfering with your local schools, give local control, we'll give you the money, it sounds pretty good. And we have not provided what the alternative looks like, meaning Democrats. And Democrats should talk about what we're going to do to improve education. So apparently, axing the Department of Education will lead to segregation, according to what looks like presidential candidate Tim Walz. Another person, before we go to break, thinking of running for president. This is a blast from the past. Buckle up. Rahm Emanuel is gearing up for a run for president. The former Chicago mayor is already hustling, finding new ways to attack Trumpism from the center. Yes, Politico is actually suggesting that Rahm Emanuel is in the center. I don't want to go back through the whole story of Rahm Emanuel. He was known to be very vicious, if you recall. Even the fellow Democrats behind the scenes. He worked for the Obama administration. So Rahm Emanuel, and this is from Politico, political operative turned politician turned diplomat. Rahm Emanuel, says Politico, is gearing up to run for president. So there's a couple updates. Oh, and Mark Cuban wants to fill the void created by Musk's cut. He's got some delusions of grandeur when it comes to politics as well. Mark Cuban, who really embarrassed himself and showed that he wasn't ready to be a politician when he made that statement right after Biden called Trump supporters garbage. Mark Cuban made that statement that Trump doesn't have any intelligent, strong women around him. Disastrous and just wrong-headed statement. Now he wants to clean up after Doge, according to, again, Politico. The longtime critic of Donald Trump is fielding business pitches from former and current federal staffers at the General Services Administration and White House to fill tech gaps that federal workforce layoffs have left. All right. A couple other Democrat things when we come back. I'm running late. Keep those comments coming in. We're celebrating 2 years on the air here on Frankly Speaking. We will be right back with a 2-year anniversary celebration after this.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily Jardians at each day start. As time went on, it was easy to see I'm lowering my A1C.
And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardians can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too.
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine, which can be fatal. Stop Jardians and call your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, trouble breathing, or increased ketones. Jardians may cause dehydration that can suddenly worsen kidney function and make you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or weak upon standing. Genital yeast infections in men and women, urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, or a rare life-threatening bacterial infection between and around the anus and genitals can occur. Call your doctor right away if you have fever or feel weak or tired and pain, tenderness, swelling, or redness in the genital area. Don't use if allergic to Jardians. Stop use if you have a serious allergic reaction. Call your doctor if you have rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swallowing. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet.
Jardians is really swell, the little pill with a big story to tell.
Every Judge Mathis presides.
Don't you ever form your mouth to talk to me like that.
Is another day when someone gets what they deserve.
What's wrong with you?
Mathis Court with Judge Mathis.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDC. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Our 2-year anniversary celebration. Let's go to some viewer comments. Department of Education in the 1950s. Right, exactly. That's a very good point. The Department of Education came around the Carter administration. So not really sure. Well, that was Tim Walz really stretching himself into a pretzel trying to come up with some attack line on any bureaucratic cuts. You see the defense of bureaucracy by the Democrats on all the news programs. They'll always say, we want to get rid of waste and fraud, but you don't want to make the tough cuts, is what it all boils down to. Comment from a different viewer. I would like to have an in-person town hall meeting with our representatives because I've called in for every Langworthy teletown hall since the inauguration. If you're not familiar, Congressman Langworthy holds town halls, but it's over the phone to reach what is a large district. The idea, if I understand correctly, is to reach as many people as possible. But this viewer is saying, because I have called in for every Langworthy town hall since the inauguration, and he only gets to maybe 8 to 10 calls. Oh, interesting. Not very many. And when I email him with concerns, even if they are written respectfully and politely, I rarely get a response. Well, thank you very much for that. Listen, I understand. I would normally be all in for in-person town halls. I've attended, I can't tell you how many in-person town halls. I helped former Congressman, then Congressman, Joe Sempolinski, set up town halls throughout the whole district. Attended those town halls as well. So I understand it. The reason I'm saying now is I don't believe, and now I'm not speaking to this viewer in particular, I'm speaking to the numerous groups that are calling for in-person town halls that are not doing it in good faith. I think if you have genuine questions and want to have a conversation with your congressman, I think they're great. I think in-person town halls are great. I think when you're pushing it not for the right reasons, when you're pushing for it, again, this is not referencing this viewer, but when you're looking to disrupt. And also, you've got to consider, since you mentioned Langworthy, I was talking about Congress people in general. Langworthy has had two, what would you call it, essentially attacks on his offices, where you had a white powder sent to one of his offices, and then another where I think it was in Jamestown where they tried to jam his door so he couldn't get back in. It's a very scary time with the divide, and when you see Tesla dealerships having Molotov cocktails and things like that thrown at them, I think I understand any congressperson throughout the country, Democrat or Republican, saying maybe now is not the time to hold in person. And I don't think when people, especially some activist groups, are calling for this, it's not because they want to have a conversation or learn what, in this case, Langworthy's opinion is. They are doing it because they want to shout down the congressperson so they can have their viral moment online or send it to the media and present it as all Republicans in a Republican district have turned on their congressperson, when many of those people, if not all of them, are Republicans. It's not done in the conversational manner. It ends up turning into a shouting match where, to your point about the teletown halls, you may only get 8 or 10 questions in one of those. But in person, with the shouting down and the yelling and the booing, very often you won't get more than one question in. So I'm not sure. So I understand in the utopia where the town halls are civil, they're great. I don't think we're at that point right now. Okay, a couple last updates on Democrats. Senator Richard Blumenthal, if you recall, receiving criticism in the past for fabrication about his time in Vietnam. He was on CNN's News Central yesterday, and he said, quote, "The economy under Joe Biden was chugging along pretty well. And what Donald Trump is doing now is potentially going to disrupt disastrously a success story for America. And Trump should be building on this economy, but isn't." So Biden's economy was a success story that was chugging along, and Trump is ruining that success story. Did you feel that the economy the last 4 years was a success story? Your thoughts. Two last things. Senator John Fetterman urged members of his party to talk like regular people on Tuesday while pushing back on MSNBC's Stephanie Ruhl's questioning about the rise of oligarchs in America. Fetterman told Ruhl, "I would just ask Democrats, start talking like a regular person. Most people are not sure what an oligarch is, you know?" Fetterman, of course, a Democrat who has been criticizing his own party for this type of out-of-touchness, said there's also another little secret, too. Democrats, we like billionaires if they're giving to our causes or to our party as well. What a great point by Fetterman. Of course, it's hard for them to talk about big money when George Soros was given that Medal of Honor by Joe Biden. So he raises a good point. There's also another little secret, too. Democrats, we like billionaires if they're giving to our causes or to our party as well. Who I'm sure Stephanie Ruhl did not want that line of answers. Remember, a lot of these billionaires that were in tech, they used to be more friendly to the Democrat interest in our party. Unlimited money, get rid of that. And that would transform America more than any single other decision. So he urged Democrats to talk like regular folks. Bernie Sanders did not heed his message. He lamented the oligarchy and the movement towards authoritarianism, making the Trump administration the scariest time of his life. It's always the scariest times. It's always, George W. Bush, it was the scariest time. Any Republican, it's so cliche. So we're going to get away from that. We're going to talk about the continuing resolution and will there be a government shutdown tomorrow? Give me your thoughts, your predictions. We are celebrating 2 years on the air. It's hard to believe. 2 years ago today, we had Corning Mayor Bill Bolin on the program to welcome us into Corning with a new program, the new broadcast. And it's hard to believe at that time, the show for, I think, just a year was 1 hour. Hard to believe. Impossible. And especially in the era of Trump. But we got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, please stay with us.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now, 844-617-0440.
Hard water makes it hard to keep your home looking like the work of art you've always envisioned it would be. Culligan softeners reduce hard water buildup and your cleaning time, transforming every drop, every splash, every rinse into the fine art of a long-lasting clean. With a Culligan water softener, revel in the breathtaking beauty of your home, just the way you've always pictured it. Culligan, water you love.
Ever feel a spectator in your own life with chronic migraine? 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more. Botox prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. In a survey, 91% of users wish they'd started sooner. So why wait? Talk to your doctor.
Botox effects may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as trouble swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Those with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions like rash, breathing problems, dizziness, neck and injection site pain, and headache. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions like ALS, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medicines like botulinum toxins, which may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Chronic migraine may still keep you from being there. Ask your doctor about Botox today. Learn how AbbVie can help you save.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. We've got a lot of viewer comments to catch up on. I'm sorry if you thought I forgot about you. I have not. I was running around doing some things. So let's get to them. No, Biden's economy was chugging towards disaster. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Congratulations on your 2 years, Frank. I celebrate with you on my birthday. Hey, happy birthday. It's a much bigger deal, your birthday. So happy birthday. But thank you for the kind words. Yes, we are celebrating 2 years on the air. It's hard to believe. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frankly Speaking. Good morning. Thank you. When I sent my wave in, I wasn't aware that it had been 2 years. Congrats. Thank you. Just wanted to also say that we are a blessed community to have this show. That's all I can say. Wow, that's really nice. Everybody's saying such nice things this morning. Thank you very much. So to the viewer before that, happy birthday to that viewer, and to all of you sending in these great comments. You're making my day. Thank you. Comment from a different viewer. Why are we doing a continuing resolution? Thought the House passed a bill, the Senate passed a bill. Can't they reconcile and pass with 51 votes in the Senate? Don't they need 60 to pass a CR? They need 60 to pass a CR. I don't quite understand your question, but the Senate has not passed they did not pass the continuing resolution, the funding plan. As a matter of fact, Senator Thune is calling Chuck Schumer's bluff on this, and he's going to move forward with a Trump-backed House-passed funding plan. Oh, I know what you're in reference to. The Senate did have that bill. That's a good point. Before, I was thinking you meant the continuing resolution. That I don't know why they can't reconcile it. There may be issues there. I'm not sure. But what Schumer said was funding the government should be a bipartisan effort, and that's his argument. To Ken's point earlier, I think you're right, Ken. They're going to use that talking point that Schumer is using, that it was no bipartisan nature to it. So this is Republicans shutting down the government. I don't think it works, but that doesn't mean they're not going to try. Legislation in the Senate requires 60 votes to invoke cloture, a necessary step in ending debate and advancing a bill. Senate Majority Leader John Thune is calling Schumer's bluff. He moved forward Wednesday evening to schedule a vote to invoke cloture on Friday. Thune has 53 Republicans to Schumer's 47 Democrats, although Senator Rand Paul has stated he will oppose the continuing resolution. Therefore, 8 Democrats will be needed to invoke cloture and fast-track the bill. So will Will they, meaning the Democrats, shut down the government? And now in the past, especially it's Thursday, every headline, every news report would have been in the past, if they could blame it on Republicans, would be apocalyptic in nature. It would be the end of the world. But now there's actually, because they can't get that talking point to stick thus far, there's mounting pressure for the Senate Democrats to avert the government shutdown. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said, "I think the American people are going to be interested to see whether the Democrats are going to filibuster, and by filibustering, shut down the federal government. It is on them if this happens. There is a funding vehicle available coming over from the House of Representatives that will fund the government through the end of the fiscal year, September 30th. And we are prepared to take it up here in the Senate and make sure that on Friday the government stays open. But it will be up to the Democrats as to whether or not that happens." Dick Durbin last year said ahead of the spending fight showdown that the last Congress, or the fact Congress has come to the brink so many times, is really embarrassing to Congress. You know, they've said all these things in the past, and they'll be seen as hypocrites, but they don't really care that they're seen as hypocrites, because I know the media will try to defend them, and I think you're right, Ken. There either won't be reporting on the shutdown, at least not in the ways it has done in the past, or they will try to twist it into being the Republicans' fault. And like you said, if I'm talking to Ken directly, I guess, but his statement was that if some Republicans vote against it and all Democrats vote against it, they'll say it was a bipartisan fight to shut down the government, or a bipartisan vote to shut down the government, because the continuing resolution was just so bad. And they may try to twist it into that. Now, Stephen Collinson at CNN said the Democrats' first big chance to check Trump may make them look even weaker. And this is an interesting argument. You know that Stephen Collinson very much far left, does not like the Trump administration. We bring up his reporting quite frequently because of that, to show you the media bias. But Democrats finally have a first point of leverage against Trump, but it comes with a dilemma that could leave them looking even more hapless than they have so far in his second term. The pressure point arises over a temporary government funding bill that could provide cover for the president's anti-government purge. And as Democratic voters pine for their lawmakers to show some fight. Ahead of a critical Senate vote, Democrat leaders face a paradoxical choice. Should they shut the government to try to save it? Should they shut down the government to try to save it? That gamble could come with a significant downside, as shuttered agencies and thousands of furloughed federal workers could be left even more vulnerable to the metaphorical chainsaw wielded by Elon Musk. And this is the talking point. If they shut down and there's no, in kind of their terms, checks, can Elon Musk just go in there with the chainsaw? Democrat. And again, remember, with the shutdown, you start to see who's essential and not, because only essential employees go in when it's a government shutdown. So then there's the admittance of a large number of non-essential employees, and that's the term, non-essential. Democrats' choices will play out against the backdrop of mounting frustration from progressives whose despair after the 2024 election has turned to horror, as Trump has turned Washington upside down in his first 50 days in office and set about fracturing the liberal world order that has prevailed for 80 years. Ooh, the liberal world order. That's an interesting way to put it. He's not presenting that as a negative. But yeah, it's hard to create talking points to defend the bureaucracy and the waste, fraud, and abuse of taxpayer dollars. And so there's stuck in a rock in a hard place, and now it comes down to showtime. Are they willing to shut down the government? Democrats were widely mocked for their protests that underscored their impotence during Trump's joint address to Congress earlier this month, when some wore color-coordinated dress and others held up paddles bearing anti-Trump slogans. And as you recall, even Democrats were upset at those Democrats. People like Stephen Colbert and the late-night hosts, who obviously support the Democrats and hate Trump, pushing those Democrats to kind of wise up, actually do something, and not just yell and scream and make fools of yourselves. I don't want to go through any more of this, but of what Stephen Collinson has to say. But basically, the idea is that what they're presenting is, well, for instance, John Hickenlooper said, I hate the House bill. But he's leaning towards voting for the measure, despite warning that it would give Trump more time to jam through the sweeping government cuts that are, quote, exactly what we've been fighting against. The arguments for mounting a Senate blockade, even at the risk of a government shutdown, are mostly rooted in the opportunity for Democrats to show some resistance to the most disruptive first 100 days in modern presidential history. A vote to stall the bill in the full knowledge that the government would be shuttered would represent a bet that despite their bullishness, Republicans would still pay a political price for a shutdown. As vital workers toil without pay, thousands more are furloughed, and critical services such as airport security and public health risk being disrupted. That's disingenuous. Number one, why would they, Republicans, pay a political price when they have put forth a continuing resolution and it's Democrats to say no? Number two, it's non-essential employees that are affected by this, but I'll continue. If they frustrate the Republican plan, the Democrats will at least be doing something that they can show their restless voters. Democrats would also be hoping to put pressure on Speaker Johnson and to make him face a backlash for sending his members home. I thought that was a brilliant move. Put the ball in Schumer's court. What he said is, I think till the 24th, right? That the House is in recess until March 24th. Representative Suozzi, Representative Suozzi says the GOP wants a shutdown to help Doge. I voted against the continuing resolution because it empowers Doge. That's Suozzi. Said that how Democrats vote on the continuing resolution is up to them, but the bottom line is if you want to get a deal done, you have to negotiate. And there's been no negotiation whatsoever. This has been a my way or the highway deal since the very beginning. And the Republicans are happy with what Doge is doing. They're cutting and they're doing some things that I think are very irresponsible. And I don't think it's smart for us to further empower that effort. So there's got to be some negotiations between Democrats and Republicans to try to find some common ground. I don't know. I think if there is a shutdown, if the Democrats decide to shut down the government, there'll be a lot of people that see non-essential employees and maybe how it doesn't affect their life so much when the government's shut down. But keep those comments coming in. It is the 2-year anniversary celebration of Frankly Speaking and the celebration of that one viewer's birthday. So we're having a party. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If there's one thing we like, it's choices. And your Ford dealer is the place to start. With a full lineup of vehicles and available powertrains. Get your ideal combination of power and capability with gas, hybrid, or all electric. But more important than the power you choose is what you choose to do with it.
Right now, returning lessees can get a Ford Escape for $199 a month for 24 months. Only at your local Ford stores.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about we. Thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDCTV.com. Corning, Elmira, Horseheads, Hornell, Bath, Watkins Glen. Big Fox 10 p.m. News, the first primetime local news in the Twin Tiers. Catch news from your area, weather forecasts, and local events. And visit our website at WYDCTV.com anytime to stay up to date on weather, news articles, and local events. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Hesselson's been with us the full 2-year ride, and we thank them so much for being such an important part of this program. Let's go to viewers' comments. Happy anniversary. Thanks for a great show. We love Breakfast with Frank. Well, hey, thank you so much. Enjoy your breakfast. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Oh, hi, Steve. Thanks for writing in. Steve says, congrats on 2 years on TV. Thank you. Will the legacy media ever hold the Democrats accountable for all their lies and misleading the public that they continue to do? Last Friday, before they even saw the bill, they're already saying how the Republicans were cutting Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, veterans. They never saw it. It is absolutely complete, utter opposite. And there's no poison pills in the bill that they presented. That's what the problem is. They don't get in your pockets, or they don't get their pockets lined any longer. That's a really good point. No, the media isn't going to hold them accountable. You need outlets. Obviously, Fox does a great job. You need outlets like this, the local media, the people to actually present the news for what it is instead of trying to have an agenda. And that's what the mainstream media has, is an agenda. They want to see Republicans lose. They want to see Democrats win. And therefore, and to your point, you're spot on, Steve. Spot on. We could write the quotes for the Democrats a month before we saw the bill, because it's always going to be Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security cut, no matter what. It's so predictable that it really becomes boring. It doesn't make it any less frustrating, but it's just boring because you know, and then there's the poor people that buy into it because they see their representative on MSNBC or they see their favorite talking head on CNN say that, and then you'll see the signs at the protests right away. So you raised a great point. And we've got an update on the media here in just a moment. Comment from a different viewer. Any thoughts on the ongoing Epstein files to be released? Last I knew, Pam Bondi was still waiting to get all the documents, but something seems to have stalled. Just wondering. Great question. The last I heard, and I think it's a very valid point, because they received so many more documents from that court in New York City, I believe it was, and the FBI was going through it, et cetera, that the delay, I believe right now, is they had to make sure, because of the extensive amount of documents, that no victims would be named. That's the one thing they want to make sure that is blacked out in the paperwork. They don't want any victims named in there. So I think that's what the delay is. But of course, as soon as we see an update, we'll pass it along. Next up. Congrats, Frank. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you. And last comment of this section, but get your other comments in because we only have a couple minutes left. So get your comments in as we end up the program here. Good morning, Frank. Well, hey, good morning. And congratulations for 2 years. With how much President Trump does daily, how about a third hour or an hour on Saturday? Just kidding. Keep up the great work. I think we could do 3 hours on Saturday. Let's not get crazy. But no, I think 2 hours. Thank heavens we have 2 hours, because I don't know how we ever did it with 1 hour. But with President Trump's schedule, I don't think 8 hours would be enough to broadcast everything that's being accomplished. That's why I have probably 25 stories we're not going to be able to get to this morning. J.D. Vance is scolding, speaking of the media, CBS for harassing his mother-in-law over their difference of opinion on DEI. Yeah, they manufactured a story, CBS, to almost create division in J.D. Vance's family. And we know the media hates J.D. Vance because he was so effective in the race, and he has been so effective since being sworn in as vice president. So CBS put a spotlight on his mother-in-law, who's the provost of the University of California's San Diego's 6th College. Quote, who is also Vance's mother-in-law and the mother of Second Lady Usha. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing her name right. Chilkuri helped create a pilot course on race, ethnicity, and gender in biology and medicine, served on the university's Biological Sciences Diversity Committee, and has written proudly of her school's commitment to diversity, CBS News reporter Graham Cates and Daniel Klaidman wrote. A crackdown on what President Trump and Vance call wokeness has been a hallmark of their administration's first weeks. Widespread scalebacks of DEI programs in academia, government, and across corporations have marked some of this administration's earliest marquee victories. So Vance said he wasn't going to take this lying down. He said, I don't like DEI, and I'm proud of what our administration has done on that front. But I love my mother-in-law. If she doesn't share my views on DEI, I suppose I'll have to do what 99% of Americans do when confronted with a family member who doesn't always agree with them. Get over it. This story exists because CBS has decided that harassing my mother-in-law is a reasonable price in order to attack President Trump. He also chose to focus on his mother-in-law's kindness and the fact that she's an incredible mother and loving grandmother to the most important people in my life. Unbelievable. Nothing is off limits, folks. Now even going after the mother-in-law, just as Vance said, just so they can attack Trump. We got to take our last break. Get those last-minute comments. And oh, my gosh, I don't know if we'll have time to read all the comments. Thank you so much. What a fun day. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
There are days I feel stuck in my head. Even on an antidepressant, lingering depression symptoms can make it hard to break through. I wanted more from my antidepressant. I asked about Vraylar. Adding Vraylar to an antidepressant significantly reduces overall depression symptoms better than an antidepressant alone.
Vraylar isn't approved for elderly patients with dementia-related psychosis due to increased risk of death or stroke. Report changes in behavior or suicidal thoughts to your doctor. Antidepressants can increase these in children and young adults. Report fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death. Weight gain and high cholesterol may occur. Difficulty moving, tremors, slow or uncontrolled body movements, restlessness and feeling like you need to move, nausea, constipation, insomnia, dizziness, increased appetite, and fatigue are common. Side effects may not appear for weeks.
Vraylar, breaking through to relief. Ask about.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, and I don't even know if I'll have time to read all these comments. Such wonderful comments. Let's get right to them as we wrap up today's edition. 2 years. It does not seem that way. Great job. You make news as it should be, factual and truthful. I can't understand why the other so-called media wants to lie and distort the facts. Thank you very much. Next comment. The problem is CNN and MSNBC give opinions, one-sided. I remember when CNN actually reported news. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Next thing you know, the fake news will blame the Republicans for having to fire people, even though because of their bias, it's their own fault for spreading lies and so on. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank, and happy anniversary. Well, thank you. Celebrating 2 years on the air. Fred writes, I predict that it's another symptom of TDS. The government will shut down because they keep taking the 20% side of the 80-20 issue. Democrats can't help themselves. They're in serious generational trouble now that their cash machine is broken. Thank you, Fred. Comment from Ken. Did you hear a report that some of the directors in USAID are directing the people under them to shred and, if needed, burn documents? Yeah, they had such a tight time frame that they said if the shredder gets overheated, put them in a bag marked burn. Yes, I did hear that. The New York Post was reporting on that yesterday. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Comment from a different viewer. You're absolutely correct. The Democrats care more about the party than the people. Many on both sides lie in the wake of their efforts to put America last and the Democrat Party first. Thank you very much. Mark writes in, Frank, see you at Wienerville on Saturday. And P.S., come meet Frank and support the Corning Salvation Army. Well, that's great. Thank you for giving me another opportunity. It's going to be a fun event. It's this Saturday, and it goes to benefit the Salvation Army of Corning. And finally, we'll end on this note and wrap up our 2-year anniversary celebration. Morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Thank you for 2 years on Big Fox and on your past voice on the radio, bringing real news and allowing we the people to bring our voice too. I'm a generational follower of yours. Oh, how nice. My father listened to you when you were on the radio. He introduced you to me, and I have been there ever since. Wow, how kind. Thank you for your accurate and professionalism, but most of all, caring to get the word, spreading the awareness that we need to know. On that note, such a touching comment, and so many touching comments all morning long. Thank you so much for celebrating 2 years on the air with me this morning, and we'll be back tomorrow morning with Frankly Speaking. Thank you to all our guests through the years. Thank you to everyone that writes in, waves in. From the bottom of my heart, I can't thank you enough, but we will be back tomorrow morning with Frankly Speaking. See you then.
Let's beat the dark days of winter and have a vacation from taxation with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. What better way to start or end every day than with hot water therapy in your very own Hesselson's Hot Tub? With every spa purchase, Hesselson's guarantees great customer satisfaction and the best service team in the area. Plus, with Hesselson's Vacation from Taxation sales event, free steps, free cover lifter, free music, and 0% interest-free financing. Ask about Hesselson's chemical auto ship program and save even more. Stop in today and see why after 70 years it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.